and dear parents, thank you for joining us this afternoon on this very special occasion of us starting off the 30 years journey of Springfields education. Before we start the proceedings of the day, we would like to invoke the blessings of the Almighty. So I'll invite Ms. Naila Rahman to start to do the opening prayer, and then we will continue. Naila? Ms. Naila Rahman, are you on the meeting? Sai, can you please unmute Naila? Just a second. Sai, can you please unmute Naila Rahman?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, she can unmute herself.
Thank you. Yes, Naila.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا ليغفر لك الله ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم نعمته عليك ويهديك صراطا مستقيما وينصرك الله نصرا عزيزا هو الذي أنزل السكينة في قلوب المؤمنين ليزدادوا إيمانا مع إيمانهم ولله جنود السماوات والأرض وكان الله عليما حكيما ليدخل المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ويكفر عنهم سيئاتهم وكان ذلك عند الله فوزا عظيما ويعذب المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات الظانين بالله ظن السوء عليهم دائرة السوء وغضب الله عليهم ولعنهم وأعد لهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا ولله جنود السماوات والأرض وكان الله عزيزا حكيما إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا لتؤمنوا بالله ورسوله وتعزروه وتوقروه وتسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا إن الذين يبايعونك إنما يبايعون الله يد الله فوق أيديهم فمن نكث فإنما ينكث على نفسه ومن أوفى بما عاهد عليه الله فسيؤتيه أجرا عظيما صدق الله العظيم. Surah Fatiha, the first 10 ayats.
Thank you, Naila.
Inshallah.
Aspire to learn, inspire to transform. I invite Anjum ma'am to please launch the 30 years logo of Springfields education.
So can we play the logo video, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So unveiling the logo of 30 years for all of you. Alhamdulillah, it's been 3 decades of blossoming education, blossoming young minds, heart and spirit. And we're very proud to share this with you this beautiful Saturday morning. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for that. Congratulations to all of the faculty, the teaching learning community, the students, our partners in education. Thank you for everyone who has believed in us, worked towards our vision, mission, and objectives in reaching where we are today. 30 years, it's beautiful that our logo now is not only green, which signifies growth and learning and nurturing and cultivating all the nature metaphor that we always talk about, but it's like a tulip that also is unfolding. And the tulip, if you look closely, also looks like a book. And the value that we have in learning and transforming. And today's program this morning, I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about how we feel about learning and how we feel about transforming. So thank you so much, Caroline. I'll hand it over to you before I share my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for unveiling our logo. And this afternoon, we have as our keynote speaker, Dr. Anjum Babukhan, our Director of Education. She has been carrying on the legacy of our visionary director, the late Bashiruddin Babukhan. Dr. Anjum Babukhan is the author of ABCs of Brain Compatible Learning and is a TEDx speaker. She is an award-winning educationist, empowering trainer, and lifelong learner. She provides key insights for educators, parents, and lifelong learners to navigate education in the 21st century. Having pioneered an award-winning pedagogy in her private education group of schools in India, her twin focus has been on cultivating character and competence. Multiple intelligence is the foundation upon which each learner's journey is curated to develop their multifaceted human potential. With an experience of over 2.5 decades in implementing best teaching methodologies, her book, ABCs of Brain Compatible Learning, is a seminal work that is as transformative as it is actionable. Through the book and her educative YouTube channel, Dr. Anjum Babukhan has provided tried and tested approaches that parents and educators have implemented effectively with confidence to enhance learning and development. Dr. Anjum Babukhan stands as a visionary thought leader whose passion for lifelong learning propels her forward to create a world that is empowered through education. In her words, education is exploratory, enriching, and empowering. It is in our hands to create learning places that are nurturing spaces for every child. With this powerful desire and vision, the dream called Springfields was born with the mission to provide learning places that are nurturing spaces for multiple intelligence, 21st century skills, and universal human values for holistic growth. I welcome Dr. Anjum Babukhan to address the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to each and every one of us, all our partners in education, the entire teaching and learning community. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we aspire to learn and we inspire to transform. So this morning, I'd like to share a little bit about what makes Springfields what it is, what we have been doing, what we aspire to do, how we wish to touch, move, and inspire all our young children. And I'll take it from here. When I was at Harvard many years ago, I've been there since 2012 by the grace of Almighty. One of the activities in our introduction, they had asked us to introduce ourselves, thinking of a metaphor from nature, from either a creature, an animal, a bird, anything. And I had chosen a bee. And the honeybee signifies, I felt that my journey as an educator to visit all the different gardens of the world, beautiful gardens, be it Cambridge or Stanford or Harvard or any and every place, the Art Institute of Chicago, that I have gone seeking wisdom and knowledge as a lifelong learner, and have brought that nectar back from those gardens to Hyderabad and synthesized it into honey. And I love to share that sweetness of that honey with the entire teaching learning community here under Springfields, Glendale, all our teachers, our faculty, our parents, our students. So that has basically been my journey. And these are some pictures from these different institutions that I've had the great fortune of studying at. And right now, currently, I am a EdM candidate in the formal Harvard Education Graduate School of Education. I'm studying human development and psychology. And it's been such a blessing because everything that I'm learning, I think I really needed this very, very, intensive program in order to take our pedagogy to the next level here in Hyderabad and continue, benefiting our youth. So inshallah, I'd like to share some of that with you. We basically have, can the tech department take care of this raising hand? There's some Amina Begum that keeps raising hand. I'm not sure. We can't really take questions right now, but maybe we can take questions afterwards. So if that can just be disabled somehow. So 4 terms that start with the letter I, and this is from Bass's research on transformational leadership. And there's these 4 elements that actually help in transformation and how we can actually use these 4 elements in transformational leadership and in transformational teaching. And these have been, shared in our teaching learning community for the last several years. And I'd like to take this opportunity to share this with our parents today. Namely, these 4 I's are idealized influence, intrinsic motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized attention. So while you must be familiar with our pedagogy of multiple intelligence, brain compatible learning, how we're trying to develop character competence, hopefully in today's presentation, you will understand the hard work behind how we are making sure these ingredients of these 4 elements are through and throughout our education system so that we can benefit our children. And how we're transforming, of course, this is a pedagogical chart that you're all familiar with. But just to revisit, our twin focus has always been on character and competence. Character was very, very important for our founder, Mr. Bashiruddin Babukhan, who talked about not only having faith, but all of these different initiatives. So let me move on. I'm going to first talk about intellectual stimulation.
Recording in
I've
progress.
actually had a chance to study under him, and we brought these 10 principles of creating a culture of thinking in our institution of both Springfields and Glendale. And number one principle is that for classrooms to be cultures of thinking for students, first we must make the schools to be cultures of thinking for them, for teachers. And we have done that with a very, very intensive teacher training program, professional development program that is continuous. So our faculty are continuously honing and developing their skills. Our instructional leaders, our senior leadership team, myself, kind of leading the pack as the director of education. You see that I'm still in learning, and I'm still doing another degree, so that we can be cutting edge. We can be trailblazers in education and lead the way, inshallah. And of course, our intellectual stimulation, we've been guided for the last couple of decades at Springfields. We've been talking about multiple intelligence and implementing its methodology. We've been talking about brain-based learning with brain-compatible learning. And last year, we introduced the whole person approach, which was kind of like a synthesis of the 7 habits of highly effective people, as well as multiple intelligence. So let me share some different letters that would maybe jump out that we're trying to incorporate, even when we went from the physical learning scenario to the virtual, very seamlessly. By God's grace, our faculty, so quickly they learned, so quickly our senior leadership team took charge, empowered themselves with new tools of the trade in the digital space, and made sure that we kept still the attention, that we were still multiplying their intelligences, that there was still a little bit of joy of enrichment, even in the remote scenario, and how we orchestrated this learning in the remote scenario. And I don't think that there are very, very, very few schools who have been able to do it successfully in the remote scenario. But hats off to our dedicated team, our dedicated leaders who have made this transformation possible. In our online program, we switched over to Google Classrooms. We had live, synchronous, interactive classrooms with trained, qualified faculty. We limited the screen time according to the age. We made sure that it was age appropriate. We knew that the attention span would not be there, very high for the younger children. We continued having that social and emotional SEL with our students, because it was very important, because as all of the students were facing a lot of anxiety, melancholy from being cut off, from being in lockdown, from being not being able to see, family, friends the way that they were prior to the pandemic. We made sure that there was still circles time. In terms of our learning, we continued with authentic assessments. We continued with physical development. We wanted them to be active. In fact, our whole person approach kind of became our wellness formula, tapping into the heart, body, mind, and spirit. We kept our classes to be limited in the class numbers. We continued with a lot of online events, online competitions, international collaborations we've done. There was a continuous, element of being, attached to our faith with Quran and Diniyat. We had workshops, we had guest lectures, we had a digital online library, and we continued with developing our pedagogy and fine-tuning that in the remote scenario, virtual scenario. In fact, whenever our faculty and leaders went to the NEP workshops, National Education Policy workshops, we were well ahead of the game. We had all of these things in place for the last couple of decades. And that was really wonderful. So we're already ahead of the curve. And that was really wonderful to know that our intellectual stimulation was on par. We had 100% pass in our CBSE board exams, received gold medal in the International Cyber Olympiads. Multiple medals were won by students in the Olympiads of, math, English, science. We had different BCL techniques of experiential learning to build the competency of our students. And we had received awards of excellence in teaching pedagogy by accredited, institutions. And then we made the online digital library for students accessible from home. So many things continue to make sure that academics, was still being, wonderfully promoted. Excellence was being, nurtured. And whereas, unfortunately, due to the digital divide, so many kids didn't have access to information or did not have access to quality remote learning. But we continued. We made sure that there would not be learning gaps, that there would be only continual learning gains. And everyone, the entire team, has worked very hard for that. This year, we really wanted everyone to return to campus, but whenever it's safe and, well for everybody, we would love to, be in that space again. And there's nothing that can substitute physical learning. So, we've had, different workshops like digital safety, cyber safety, things like that, where we have had the children, because they couldn't go on physical field trips, they've gone on virtual field trips to different places around the world based on whatever concepts were being taught in the class or the occasion, whatever reinforced concept-based learning. We also made sure that we kept children in touch with different people that they would have had perhaps access to. So we had guest lectures from different people, different specialists, people with different types of expertise, from entrepreneurs to professionals, doctors, so on and so forth. We celebrated a lot of international days, special days, such as, International Tiger Day, Hindi Divas, Nutrition Week, Teachers Day, Founders Day, so on and so forth. So we kept that celebratory mood alive on special occasions. Of course, multiple intelligence in the physical space is just wonderful, but we did the best that we could in the remote scenario, in the virtual scenario as well. And of course, that is probably the number one thing in which we use for our eye of intellectual stimulation, right? And I just want to recap, I've said this before in orientations, but our multiple intelligences, they are directly correlated with 21st century skills. So when you are building MI, you are building 21st century skills. When you are building 21st century skills, you are developing the 5 mindsets that we need to have for the future, according to Dr. Howard Gardner. So this type of intellectual stimulation is essential. It's very important. And of course, now we have even our MIs aligned and congruent and synergistic with the 8 habits right? The 7 habits of highly effective people plus the 8th habit that we've combined and synergized in the whole person approach. Okay, so now what is the next I? How are we learning, leading, and transforming? We are doing it with individualized attention, right? So principle number 4 from creating a culture of thinking says that students learn best when they feel known, valued, respected by both the adults in the school and their peers. So again, that is reinforced by letter U of brain compatible learning. We need to understand the uniqueness of each and every child. And Project Zero at Harvard also emphasizes quite a bit of this in terms of how we align our individual attention. So we have had the World Music Day, inter-house singing competition was held where children had a chance to showcase their talents and be a part of, programs, assemblies, things like that. Sports education, we had a lot of wonderful things that we were doing in the physical scenario, and we hope to continue once, everyone is back in school as well. But our campuses and our coaches and our teachers, we've had a really good track record of letting children develop their talent and potential with that individualized attention, even in our sports education. And this is some more, pictures of that, whether it's chess, cricket, skating, martial arts, team sports, chess, so on and so forth. Karate, gymnastics. So that individualized attention continues. Individualized attention, opportunity for them to, showcase and express is there both inside the classroom and outside. And then, of course, when we had our whole person approach across the dimensions of the heart, body, spirit, mind, we were filling out templates. The students were filling out templates of what it is that they were doing. How were they bringing the dimensions of their emotion, physical, spiritual, mental dimensions, how they were using their MIs and their habits to showcase that. So individually, they had a chance to show. So they were showing in their templates, their Padlets, different tools. In circle time, they were sharing. So these were all, helping the individual students hone their self-regulation, their self-efficacy, cultivate their growth mindset. So this was very, very, very important in the whole scheme of individualized attention to transform. We also had, these are more examples of the physical, the whole person approach. So examples of what students were presenting in their templates. I would have webinars with all the different teachers, and then they would then take this into the classroom. Then in individualized attention, last year at Harvard, I was in a course called Universal Design for Learning. And in that Universal Design for Learning, we understood that everything that we're doing under our pedagogy is fitting under that umbrella of UDL. And it's basically to remove any barrier to learning, and that how can learning be accessible to each and every child, that the barrier is never in the child, we need to remove it from the environment. So there are multiple means of representation, multiple means of expression, multiple means of engagement. And that is what we're working on with the pedagogy, to give that individualized attention and to make sure that learning has no limits whatsoever. And we also had external competitions. We had participation in the Glendale Lit Fest, news reading, School Super League and MUN, for example, just to name a few, where individually the kids had that. Then we had external competitions. Here are some examples here, and trainings. Now, next we move on to idealized influence. Now, in idealized influence, the principle that here, there's a picture of me and Dr. Ron Richard, who authored Creating a Culture of Thinking at Harvard University. So I had a chance to learn under him at Harvard as well. And he said the first principle is for classrooms to be cultures of thinking for students, schools must be cultures of thinking for teachers. So in terms of all the people that have inspired me, and there's many, 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 what I share at our group of institutions, this is nothing that is mine. It is all learned from all these luminaries, be it Stephen Covey, Dr. Howard Gardner, Dr. Ron Richard, Dr. David Perkins, different leaders from different walks of life. Everyone has something to learn, because everything that is there to know, the divine intelligence reveals itself, gives us opportunity to learn and to optimize, to grow. And I can, like I said in the beginning of the thing, be like the bee and just visit these gardens and, make that, that synthesize that honey and share that sweetness. So alhamdulillah, it's been just an honor to be able to do that. But we've also raised the competency of our faculty, right? Our faculty has constantly been learning, constantly been upgrading their skills. And even when we couldn't meet in person, we had a virtual teacher toolbox, live Zoom sessions, as well as, asynchronous modules. Throughout last year, in fact, we continued professional development with e-modules for our faculty. And all the learning that I get from Harvard is transferred to the Tier 1 leadership team, to the instructional leaders, the SI, the strategy and action members, and the teachers. So it's a 360-degree approach to make sure that they're understanding psychology, human development, what are the needs of the child in the classroom, what is neuroscience saying about learning, what is it saying about cognition, what is it saying about development of competency, talent, skill, intelligence, what are the tools that we can use to make that possible. So again, idealized influence through the faculty, intellectual stimulation through our methods. These are the ways that we are learning, leading, and transforming. Again, our idealized influence, when I mentioned about our faculty, our senior leadership team, our heads, here are some examples of, our heads. Miss Caroline, Miss Humaira, look at what all they're doing, look at the acknowledgements that they're receiving, look at the training that they're continuing, look at the certificates of participation, these examples of our teachers and how they're continuing to learn, how, learning is a lifelong process, and they are walking their talk. They're showing their students that they are continually developing themselves, even, as adults. So this is only going to just benefit our children when we continue to do that. So this is how we make sure that our influence remains idealized, because we are continuing to learn. Here are some more examples of participations of different things that the teachers have engaged in. I am a teacher, and what I do makes a difference. Unlock thoughts, PBL. There's different programs that they've participated in, different training sessions, different PD professional courses, social and emotional workshops, teacher engagement programs, feedback. These are, teachers are the backbone of our educational institutions, and they are the front line for the students. And it's very, very important that we keep investing in them, because they are the ones who actually make everything, happen at the ground level. So these are just some more examples of teacher development that has been taking place, whether it's in person or online. Learning never stops at Springfields. We're always learning and growing. These are some more examples of what the teachers have been getting developed with, the inputs that they are being received. A lot of online programs as well, technology integration, social and emotional learning, like I said, continues for Idealized Influence. These are some ones that have been happening within the country. And now with Zoom and webinars, it was accessible, it was very easy to attend, and a lot of learning happened, again, under Idealized Influence. Understanding even the children that we're teaching, right? What is the Generation Z? We need to understand, like, a lot of us are from Generation X, and then you had the millennials, and then now you have Generation Z who is in school right now. And it's very important to understand what makes them who they are, what are the times, what is their world like? It's very different from the world that we grew up in, and it's very important to understand them when we interact with them, when we try to teach them, when we try to parent them, when we try to do things for them. So this is all there's so much in the human domain that we have to actually learn and be equipped with, and to understand it with a lot of wisdom. When we flipped from physical to the online virtual scenario, these are some examples of all the different tools that our teachers learn very, very quickly and very efficiently on how to use, whether it was surveys with Mentimeter, doing like little quizzes with Kahoot, using the online platforms, Flipgrid, Padlets, lab experiments, Edpuzzles. I mean, we just try to really, really, really do the best that we can. And I don't think any other schools in the city, in the region, did as much as we've done. I mean, I'm very, very immensely proud of our team for how well they've navigated this virtual learning, and how beautifully they've led it, how beautifully they made sure that learning gaps were minimized, and our kids were learning. Our buildings were closed, but learning never stopped at Springfields. Now, the other I that I want to talk about now is intrinsic motivation. So we've covered idealized influence and intellectual stimulation. And now I move on with this little yellow flag on intrinsic motivation. So one of the principles from cultures of thinking is to create a new story of learning. We must change the role of the student and the teacher. Right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how we're doing that, how we're trying to intrinsically, motivate our students. So back in 2017, it was beautiful that I had a chance to go to the think tank on global education at Harvard University. This is me with Dr. Fernando Reimers, who leads the world course. So basically, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030, basically, the way that we can understand it is that in 2015, United Nations drafted these goals. 2016, it was on the drawing board about how is it that they can reach these at all levels of society, government, industry, agriculture, education. And then in 2017, the think tank happened. And, by God's grace, I mean, I happen to be the only a person from not just India, but from the entire subcontinent that was there. And this was May 2017. And this is the way they talked about how can educators, use these United Nations development goals and making our future citizens aware of this. And it was beautiful because we always believed in thinking globally and acting locally. But what the UN SDGs gave us is the fact that not only could our students learn about the world, but they could also learn about making it a more humane and sustainable place to live. And it's not in the future that they do that, but it's today, it's now. So it's building in that leadership quality. So that's what has been so beautiful about this. And so literally 10 days after coming back from the think tank in May 2017, we rolled it out immediately into our institutions. So we can very, very, very proudly say that we were the first education group to incorporate the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals into our curriculum, and seamlessly integrated into our curriculum and what the kids are learning. So basically what the United Nations Development Goals give us is that they give us a tool to be a catalyst for change today. And especially today is very important because we're living in these VUCA times of, it's volatile, it's unpredictable, it's unprecedented, it's complex, it's ambiguous. And unless we all are working on it together on a daily basis, in what we're learning about today and how we're acting proactively, leading towards a more humane and sustainable world, that's only when we can achieve it. And if you think about it, we're in 2021, and it's only 9 years away from the goal of 2030. So by the time our children graduate and become young adults, we are hoping they are already working on making these goals achievable. So internationalism through the UN SDGs, these are some examples of our students at work in the school. For example, the goal of no poverty. Our children are making efforts with that. The Fistful of Rice program, that was a beautiful program of trying to remove poverty and hunger, zero hunger. We had children working towards good health and well-being, promoting that at all ages. Quality education, not just within our own institution, but sharing it with those institutions that are less fortunate, and sharing our best practices, sharing our wisdom and knowledge on how they can improve their schools. And we've always believed that sharing is empowering. Here are some more examples from some more goals with UN SDGs, such as affordable clean energy. Our children have done science exhibitions where they're trying to harness very innovative ways of creating energy. We've talked about gender equality because that is still an issue even though we're in 2021. How do we achieve gender equality, and how do we reduce inequalities among different strata of society and countries, etc., etc.? How can we work towards climate action? Very, very specific examples of students, realizing what they can do through this UN SDGs. And again, it's all coming from within. It's the intrinsic motivation to do something from within. It's from inside out. Again, more examples. For example, improving work and economic growth, responsible consumption and production, life below water, life above water, building, good infrastructure, sustainable, innovation. More examples from, events that the children have led, student-led initiatives and projects and service that children have done by God's grace. And intrinsic motivation, again, one thing that has motivated our children from the beginning is RRC. So we believe in conscious discipline, again, the inside out approach. Children, they will do as you say, but when you're not in front of them, what do? So that discipline has to come from within. That conscious self-discipline has to come from within. And what we train them with from a very young age is RRC. Are you being respectful to anyone or anything, right, around you? Are you being responsible, again, to everything and anyone around you? And can you cooperate? Can you realize that you are an interdependent aspect of this entire ecosystem that you're living in, whether it's a family, whether it's a classroom, whether it's a community or society, right? And can we cooperate with the best of our abilities and potential and skills and character to be a harmonious part of that? And if things are not well, can we be an agent of positive change? So RRC is something that is very short and simple and easy to use. So I suggest to our partners in education, anytime your kids are not listening to you, you can just ask them 3 questions. Are you being respectful? Are you being responsible? Can you please cooperate? And instead of lecturing them and sermonizing them, this works very well, as I'm also a mother of 3 boys. And this has always worked like a charm. And even now, as they've grown up, I still feel that RRC is so essential, for our family and for the well-being of anyone that you live with, anyone that you work with. RRC is like the foundation. Intrinsic motivation is also something that we are, guided by the leader in me. Of course, before all of this is, our faith and what our faith, commands us to do, expects us to do, that we're supposed to be vicegerent on earth, right? And we have been given the faculty of reasoning, of thinking, and we have a choice between the 2 highways. Do we choose the good or the bad, But these are all other tips, and which kind of makes it practical. It's very much aligned with how we are supposed to be, in our faith. So the 7 habits, it's based on universal principles. You will find it resonating with every major faith in the world, including ours. That are we being proactive? Yes, we have a circle of concern, but what are we doing about it within our, our circle of influence? Are we being proactive? Do we have a vision? Do we begin with the end in mind? If you don't have a plan, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So we need to have a plan. We need to begin with the end in mind. We need to have a vision. We need to put first things first, right? What is our priority? And we are taught these prioritization. We are taught to be a master over our appetites, of sleep, of even eating, when we fast, when we have the discipline of our prayer times. We need to know our priorities. This is how we live our life. So this should not be difficult for us on how to prioritize. We think win-win, everyone can win. Allah is, abundant. We need to believe in a world of abundance. So there's plenty of room for everyone and everything. There will be a zaria that is provided. So we can work with a win-win, not a win-lose mentality, but an abundance mentality of thinking win-win. And then, of course, we need to seek to understand, then be understood. So we need to be empathetic. Empathy is like a buzzword these days, but this is something that our faith has taught us on how to be empathetic. Then we synergize. We understand that together we are better than we are alone. And how do we synergize? And of course, we need to continually sharpen our saw. We need to make sure that our physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual edge is continually sharpened, right? With what habits we lead, and we exercise that in the whole person approach. And we have our whole paradigms, right? The paradigm of leadership, that everyone can be a leader, right? Leadership, children can exhibit leadership. They can take charge. They need to understand that change starts with us. It starts with me. Everyone is smart. Everyone has genius. Everyone is smart, but smart in their own way. Who says that? Dr. Howard Gardner, multiple intelligence. We believe in developing the whole person. And again, we've exercised that academics and activities and programs and everything is important. We believe in developing the whole person, right? We're the flourishing garden which nurtures, young minds, tender talents, and budding personalities. Our entire ethos is on developing the whole person. And our motivation is that we as educators, we in education, the philosophy that we hold is that we want to empower students for this intrinsic motivation that I'm talking about. We want to empower them to lead their own learning throughout their life, not just when they have a parent or a teacher over their head and telling them what to do and spoon feeding them. No, but they are able to lead their life with principles, right? With character, with competence on their own. If they are left alone, that they will be successful. So that is the way that we want to, have them learn, have them lead, and have them transform not only their own selves, but transform their environment and leave the world a better place. And this is what our founder wanted when he founded the school 30 years ago. This is the premise of what he wanted each and every child to do. In the lifespan that he had of 7 years, he did it to the best of his ability. And may Allah, accept and reward him for all that he's done and the legacy that he's left behind. He's touched the lives of tens of thousands of people, through his work, through education, through his, political policies that he has put into place when he was, in the, cabinet, and as a minister, as a businessman, as a family man, all those things, so we want that to be like each and every one of our alumni, our students who graduate should be doing this. They should make us all proud, make their parents proud, make them to be a source of our sawab jariya, so when we have them be intrinsically motivated, these are the beautiful things that can happen. So moving on to intrinsic motivation, the investiture ceremony, giving more leadership opportunity to students. The student council is one aspect. Engaging in community service is very, very important. In India, it's really in our face, right? There's so many people you turn, and there's so many people who need help, and you can always have that greed of just looking beyond us. But when we look at those who don't have what we have, and we're grateful, and we empower them with what we're already empowered with, that is, beautiful. And that is, a duty that we all have. We have to all pull each other up, together we stand, divided we fall. So intrinsic motivation for service, for helping the poor and the needy, it is no fault of theirs that that's their condition, but we are very fortunate. So how can we share our fortune, with others is very important. The Leader in Me program has just been serendipitous. I don't know how, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has just been so generous in terms of whatever we were doing in our little space, in our little schools in Hyderabad. But I had an opportunity to address as the keynote speaker 800 educators from all around the world. And what did I teach? What did I share with them? I shared with them this exact pedagogy: character, competence, multiple intelligences, 7 habits. How have we combined it? How have we had those goals of the UN SDGs? How we have, basically developed that whole spectrum of human potential in the 21st century. And this is, Muriel Summers, who co-authored with Dr. Stephen Covey, the first Leader in Me school, the book. Dr. Stephen Covey is no more, but this is Sean Covey in the middle, his eldest son. He has several children, and last December, he actually invited me to get on to the Franklin Covey International Education Board. So I serve on that now. And it's really wonderful that whatever we're doing in our humble way here in Hyderabad is actually being shown as an example worldwide at the global summit, on the global stage. Some of our children in our other sister schools, they've done things, and they're now on the Leader in Me portal. They're on the global portal. They're examples, they're videos. So we're very, very proud of our children, our faculty who have helped shape them, encourage them, touch, move, and inspire them. But this is all happening with intrinsic motivation. This transformation is happening by God's grace. Again, these are some more examples. We've collaborated, our heads, Ms. Caroline and others, they've collaborated with international guests, with China, France, Egypt, Hungary, and it's really nice that they're giving this exposure to our children. Tours, TEDx, different programs, Children's Film Festival, things with National Geographic, learning role plays, again, really promoting unity and diversity as humanity. I mean, we're all one human race. There's increasing polarization, divide and rule. Unfortunate, elements are at play around the world, across governments, and we need to re-emphasize our humanitarian, that like we are an interdependent global community. We are different, but we are all one, and we need to be synergistic, and we need to be harmonious in how we do it, and we need to lead the way. We need to be positive ambassadors of who we represent. And it's very important to be understood. You need to understand others, and we need to understand and appreciate others. So again, intrinsic motivation for that. I mentioned already the advisory board, but this is something that's intrinsically motivated me. When I read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, 25 years ago, I mean, that transformed my life. It transformed what I wanted to do as an educator. Everything that I learned, the nature metaphor, being proactive, concentrating on my circle of influence, prioritizing, everything. I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, it just came at the right time, and it's really motivated me in such a great way. And I'm so happy that it's now motivating, thousands of, children, our entire teaching learning community. And, we hope to be the first lighthouse school in the subcontinent, and we're working on that. So intrinsic motivation is also, it helps when we provide learning places that are nurturing spaces for the multiple intelligences. So we're really looking forward to all the kids coming back to school when it is safe for everyone, and all the classes from bottom all the way to the top. But our infrastructure is also set up to provide that, a place to nurture all the multiple intelligences. Whether it's outside with our sports grounds, whether it's inside with our labs, our materials, our resources, technology, all of those spaces are there to, inspire. And we really look forward to all the kids, being back. There's nothing like the physical learning space. Yes, when we had lockdown, we had no choice. When there was not a vaccine available, we were limited. We just had to optimize the virtual space. But as soon as, there is permission, there is government clearance, we really encourage everyone to be back at school. We've done the best that we can. We've led the online, virtual space. We've, led it with the curated, ideas from Harvard to Hyderabad. But, it's very, very important that learning is continuous. Learning doesn't stop. And when we can be in the physical space, we should be in the physical space, because nothing can substitute that. So these are just some sample examples of different places on campus where we're looking forward to it being filled with all the students very soon. And I just want to take this opportunity to, thank the extraordinary commitment of all our teachers. They've done a fabulous job, from the physical to the virtual space to come online. It's just been incredible. And the entire strategy and action team, who has made sure with their leadership skills that it's trickled down to all levels of faculty and students, and our wonderful leaders. Thank you to all our principals and institutional heads, Ms. Humaira, Ms. Caroline, leading the pack, Miss Musarrat, Rukhaya, thank you so very much. Our administrator, Ilyas, we have been together for more than, 25 years, some of you. And of course, without, we couldn't have done it. Our assistant director, Miss Minu Saluja, is, part and parcel of keeping everything going, this entire system, running, to learn, to lead, to transform. Could not have done anything without these very important individuals, this incredible team of teachers who are dedicated and supporting learning, growing, enriching, empowering. So I'm grateful to Almighty that we have all come together, under this banner of Springfields, to be that flourishing garden which nurtures tender talents, young minds, and budding personalities to be the best versions that they can be of themselves, and to leave the world a better place, to be our Sawab Jariya. So thank you so much for spending this Saturday afternoon, with me, and learning about how we, operate and what really drives us and motivates us to transform. And please keep us in your prayers and wish us all the best, because we have a common investment. It's our children. So thank you all very much. Over to you then, Caroline.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That is indeed inspirational. And you definitely inspire us to aspire to transform our children. If you're okay, ma'am, would you like to take a few questions or queries?
So why don't you take it on the chat, and then you can relay the question, because it would become too noisy.
Yes. So, dear participants, we will now open the chat box. If you have any questions, any queries, you can type your query in the chat box and we will take it from there. I request you not to raise your hands, because we will not be unmuting participants. We will take questions on the chat box. So you can place your questions, your queries in the chat box, and we will be happy to take them.
So you can actually just select which question, Caroline, and you can just,
we will just take about a few.
Yeah.
Because we are. So if you have any questions.
While we're getting the questions, I just want to say that, to all the parents who have logged on today, continuous learning is very important. This pandemic has been a very challenging time for everyone, but I just want to emphasize that, please, when studies have shown, when there's, if children are not in school, that gaps to learning are really, really hazardous to their developmental, growth. So please don't allow the kids don't have that thing, oh, it's online, it's not worth it, it's not this. Please make sure that they're attending and, continuing to learn and develop. And when there's gaps, it does impact. They actually forget a lot, and there's so much more that needs to be done to catch them up and to bring them up to speed. So just want to say that. And we really look forward to having the kids back on campus as soon as we are, able to have, from the little ones, from the tiny tots to the big kids, everyone.
Ma'am, well, most of the queries also are about coming back physically to school, but there's one very interesting question for you. It says, since everyone has an inspiration, I would like to know who your inspiration is. This question came from Ms. Naila Rahman. She would like to know who is your inspiration.
Yes, so a lot of, there's so many. So first of all, I think I'm inspired by, what Allah has, communicated in the Quran. So there's so many things that motivate me, from faith, from, This is a spiritual calling. I know that we all have a very finite life, and we are going to be questionable for what we did with our life, what we did with our time, what we did with our resources, what we did with our knowledge. So I love learning, and anything that has helped me learn, grow, and develop as a person, I feel that it is my duty to share it with any and everyone that I know. So whether it's the thousands of students that I have, the hundreds of teachers that I have, with all my family, friends, I love to be able to share what I learn. I feel it's a duty. I don't want to keep it to myself. So that really inspires me. See all the divine attributes of Allah, the 99. They're just, I meditate on them. I do zikr on them. In whatever small little minuscule way, if I can share that, whether it's love or wisdom or whatever, I mean, I try at my whatever humble human level to be able to do that. So that really inspires me. So that's from a spiritual way. I think in the world way, I mean, I think you saw a lot of the people who inspire me, right? So there's people from all walks of life. I feel that they all have been inspired in some spiritual way somehow, and to do what they're doing, to be great at their level of expertise, what they have, whether it's in psychology or development or, so all those educational luminaries, authors, many things. Like I said, I'm like a bee that goes and takes nectar from each and every interesting flower that is that person. So that inspires me. So many things inspire me. Nature inspires me. People inspire me. Travel inspires me. Just to see the world. It's that exposure, that enrichment. Yeah. I hope that answers the question. I don't have anything specific.
We have Fasi from Toli Choki branch, who says that he is very proud to be in Springfields, but he would like you to share on who was the first person to think of the vision of having Springfields and continuing it. And there's also another question continued with that, Matt, is they wish that if you will, or if we intend to open a Springfields College in the future too.
Okay, so Springfields was actually founded by my father-in-law, Mr. Bashiruddin Babukhan, back in 1991. So that's why we unveiled the 30-year, the logo. And so he basically felt in his life that education is a way where people can develop themselves and transform themselves. He had a lot of hopes for education to solve a lot of the society's problems, whether it was poverty, employment, human development, how one can develop themselves, how one can be successful in the world. A lot of that had to do with education. And he felt that his education transformed him when he was in boarding school in St. Joseph's. So he felt he owed a lot to his educational experience to make him an excellent debater, footballer, theater enthusiast. He performed. He was so comfortable with the stage. So he basically wanted to have a school like that. He wanted to have a school that would basically help individuals transform themselves. And just, like that image that I showed you at the beginning, from like a little caterpillar to, the entire process, the chrysalis to the butterfly, and, showing one's vibrant colors to be who all they can be. That was his vision, So I got married in 1994, my nikah, and and so I came in like a few years later, so 1995 I came in, and I've kind of been with this educational journey very much aligned. I don't know, I think Qismat, I think Allah just kind of put us together. I think we were very, very much aligned, father-in-law, daughter-in-law, in what we wanted. And of course, my husband, Salman, I couldn't have done it without his support. He's like the strength behind everything that we've done. He's in the background, but he's really what keeps everything going.
Yes. And in fact, ma'am, God bless the family, you and the family. Parents are all appreciating, saying that you are doing a wonderful job for all the Muslim community. And we have a query from one of the parents who says, how can parents counsel children who lack focus in studies during these tough times? What assistance can we expect from the school too?
So, I've done parenting workshops myself. I've been a student of psychology. I'm back at Harvard studying human development and psychology. See, it's very easy for teachers and parents to sometimes lecture children. See, children are going through a lot. This pandemic has been very tough. Just growing up is tough. So even if we didn't have the pandemic, it's very tough. And I think number one in any type of parenting, counseling, whatever program that I have been empowered, and learned, you have to empathize with the child. You have to get their world. Sometimes they don't even want a solution. They don't feel like whatever, but if you can say that I understand you're feeling very lazy right now, like not lazy, sorry. I understand you're feeling very tired right now. I understand you're not feeling very motivated right now. I get you, beta. I get, like, first just get their word. Usually what we do as parents is we start lecturing, start saying, start scaring. Okay, no, it has to be like this. It has to be like that. Yes, there's a time and place. But can you just acknowledge the feeling that they're having? I think once you acknowledge the feeling that there is, like, yeah, it's tough sometimes to feel motivated. It's tough right now. It's like, sometimes, I understand you just, want to break. Like, so just understand them and then say, what do you think we can, do to work towards that? Like, invite kind of, what they would like to say and things like that. So just getting them for who they are is very important, right? Like habit number 5. So for that parent that asked, I would say understand Stephen Covey's habit number 5. First, seek to understand, then be understood. You're not going to be able to motivate them if you don't understand them.
And it's very sweet of one of the parent of who said they would like to dedicate a thought for you, ma'am. And they said, you are just like a candle who consumes itself to light the way for others.
Oh, thank you. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
There's somebody who would like to ask you, what is the greatest challenge for you working with this institution?
I think challenges have been many. In general, I feel there is so much that I think my father-in-law desired for the community. And I think I resonate a lot with his thoughts that sometimes, we are our worst enemies, unfortunately. I think to overcome the bad habits that have crept into, society, our way of thinking and being, these are kind of like spiritual sicknesses, like even I was listening to a lecture by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, and he was describing the sickness of society, like envy, lack of honesty, hasad, amanat, mekhan. Like there's all these, integrity, all these different issues, not being genuinely happy for somebody else, so I think our hearts, like we need to just clean them up, I think, and I think like I said, like you don't need outside enemies. I think we're our own enemies. So I think once we clean our hearts and enlighten our hearts, and be aligned to the divine, I think everything will just be so smooth flowing there. And I think sometimes it's just those things of gossip and ribat and not being truthful. I think those are those little things that hold the entire community back. I think there's so much more that you can do, you can be, and unless you get these basics of character kind of straightened out, we're not going to go any further.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
That's
Sorry.
a challenge.
Yes, so I think that that will be it, ma'am. There were a few
And I have
queries
to
about.
say, sorry, one
Yes,
more thing is that I think parents have to lead the way. For our children to prosper, they have to show that they can forgive. They have to show that they can be honest. They have to show that, that they don't talk bad about other people. They have to show that they have integrity. And, so I think it's those things. I'm not talking about anyone specific, but I'm just talking about in general. It's almost that it's so common, in society that people are taking that as the norm. And really, that's not supposed to be the norm.
so there are one or two queries of they would like to know what's the name of your YouTube channel, ma'am. I think it is Anjum Babukhan itself.
Yeah, if you go to my website, anjumbabukhan.com, you can actually access most of the videos. All of the ABC videos, all of the multiple intelligence videos, all the videos that are just kind of like stored in one place, anjumbabukhan.com.
Yes, and one parent says that it will be nice if you will connect, if they can connect with you at least once in a quarter. So I'm sure, ma'am, you will definitely consent to meet our parents.
So yeah, I think the heads, what you all can do is maybe some of the concerns that they're having, right? It could be academic, it could be parenting, it could be whatever. I mean, if you kind of gather them, then what I could do is I can probably arrange a session addressing some of those concerns that they have, and then I can, share whatever I have learned, Again, nothing is from me. Everything is coming from outside. Allah has created a zaria for me to learn, and then, platform for me to share. I don't take credit for any of these things that I'm saying. I've only been fortunate to learn it somewhere else,
That's so very humble of you, ma'am. Parents and participants, if you have any queries, you can definitely write to us at the respective branches that you have info_tc at springfieldschool.com. We also have info_ajk at springfieldschool.com. And you can write at info@springfieldsedu.com. They're the respective branches, and we definitely will reach out to you. We're responding to your queries at any time. I think that's it. We don't have any more questions. Thank you so much, Anjum ma'am. I'll invite Masrat to give the vote of thanks.
Can I just
Yes.
say a couple of things? I was just looking at the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
There's questions about gadgets, questions about connecting with children, things like that. So just a couple of the ones that I saw, I just feel, like nowadays, like mindfulness is a like a kind of a buzzword. I feel that even parents are glued to technology, and I think that you need to just have like very small amounts of time that there's no technology, like no technology on the table, like when you're having dinner. If you want to increase the bond, like you have to kind of walk your talk. The parents have to walk their talk. There has to be a time where you connect, you're sitting in your living room, you don't have your phone, they don't have their laptop or iPad, and then you just have to have those times where, it's no technology, right? Little children, of course, you can set timers. I mean, like my sister in the States, there's only a certain amount, like the child is only allowed 1 hour. So after that 1 hour, automatically they're not able to access their iPad. For me, for bonding and connecting, what really works well, like I'm known kind of like the question queen. And so in my friend circle, family circle, I love asking these deep dive questions. You can actually look them up online. They're called conversation starters. So they could be a little light, they could be a little bit deep, depending on what. But every dinner that you're having, have maybe like one conversation starter. It could be like, what was your most favorite family vacation that we took? What gives you most joy? Something, like just a very kind of nice, and then have everybody kind of share. So it's a time where there's no technology, no lecturing. It's just about bonding and creating. But those are some of the questions I just glanced at. I just wanted to say before we conclude.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Masrat, I'd invite Ms. Masrat.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. I'm Masarat Iftikhar, head of Springfields, Alija Kodla and Malakpet branches. We just witnessed how Anjum ma'am took us through the session of Springfield's pedagogy, which has been the ideals, the backbone, and the structure around which stands the institution of Springfields. I take this opportunity to thank Anjum ma'am for guiding us through these difficult times and bringing out the best in all of us. You're always an inspiration and drive us from good to great. We all need someone who inspires us to do better than we know how. For us, it's Anjum ma'am. She sets the pace for us, lifts us from good to great and excellence. It is her vision, effort, and passion which carved a way for us to tread on. We at Springfields follow her tools like multiple intelligence, 4 Eyes, brain compatible learning, 5 Cs, 5 Minds, UNSDG goals, WPA, Leader in Me program, which have given us the strength to achieve excellence in academics and holistic development of our children, even in the pandemic. With these, we have created trust in our partners in education. We have witnessed very volatile times in the field in the last 1.5 years and have been through many ups and downs in the education field also. But I'm happy that our parents have maintained their trust in our institution in this pandemic. It was their trust in us that gave us the confidence to explore a new horizon of online platforms, which by now our teachers have mastered. Thank you, Anjum ma'am, for taking time out of your busy schedule for the parents of Springfield's education. Under your able guidance, Springfields has flourished in leaps and bounds. Thank you, parents, for joining us this afternoon. I'm sure after listening to Anjum ma'am, you are inspired and believe in the transformation that Springfields will bring to your children. May the blessings of Almighty be upon each one of us and enable us to live, love, and leave a rich legacy as did our founders. Thank you once again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your attention and patience.
Thank you so much, dear Anjum ma'am and parents, for joining us this afternoon. Have a pleasant weekend. Thank you so much.
Keep us in your prayers. Thank you.
Recording stopped.